In the meantime, that's just what's sticking to the bottom as I'm trying to get it to one part of the pan. There's probably more gold than that in that pile.
Hi there, folks. Welcome back to the Wisconsin Prospecting Channel. I'm Todd, your amateur junior intern assistant prospector in training. I'm back for part 2 of the ProtoPoison series, which I've been dragging my feet on, had some illnesses, lost a quick 20 pounds, and now I'm ready to show you all the fun parts. Stay tuned because today is where you see a lot of shining.
Now, I'm going to try to get these videos shorter for you guys because I realize they're too long, and I'm not going to bore you with a lot of panning on camera like this, but this is the bigs, so it should go fairly quick, except that most of my test lead is also in here. But let's start pulling her back so y'all can get a peek, because I was surprised at, in fact, how much plus 1/16 of an inch gold was actually in here. And most of that's from pay dirt. I've only gotten my pay dirt from 2 sources so far. Some gold nugget sales, and then of course Jason's black poison. I'm just going to get some of these gravels out of here. And we're putting everything into this blue bin down here, everything that I squirt out off the bottom. I think you guys can see it there. That's a lot of gold. All of that shiny there is bigger than a 16th, at least in one direction. Didn't go through the strainer. But there is a lot of lead in there too. See the lead up top? That's going to be the hard part. So this is where I'm going to shut the camera off, just try to get through these different classifications. And when I get to the different weigh ups for the different weights or the different size meshes, then I will show you guys the weigh ups. Okay, I have made it through the first 2 classifications here, and I figured I'd start weighing it up and getting it into their own vials. Let's move the scale down just a hair so you can see the weight. But first, I am going to get a weight on the lead that I've pulled out. Hopefully it's all out of there. And I left my, I'm only using my default phone mic so that when I start doing the gold, it'll pick it up. But let's see where my lead is sitting at. 2.65 is what I started with. Hmm. 2.43, that means the next classification down, so we'll still have a little bit of lead in it, which is going to be a pain because it's starting to get small. So I'm going to document that real quick. So far, 2.44, 45? I don't know. It's just the lead, it doesn't matter. Anyway, let's get to the fun stuff. Where is, what we would call the big. So this is everything that's plus 16 mesh. And I hope that this mic picks this up. I love that sound. I think you all love that sound. Okay, what do we got? 1.42 grams. And it's not the best scale, so you know, there's going to be a little error, I'm sure, but we'll document that. 1.42 in the plus 16 mesh. Nice little clunk there. I'll re-tear it just to be safe. And then we have the 16 mesh to 30 mesh right here. And we're going to get a weight on that. That was a pain in the butt to get the lead out of that size, so I know I got about 0.2 left in the next size down, which means I didn't do too bad at making a test medium out of lead. A little bit of black sand in this, but not enough to matter too much. And we got 1.64. So 1.64. So we're just above the 3 gram mark out of my 4.5 grams that I'm trying to find. Get this back in its pan. Give me the fan brush. All right. So I am going to be moving on now to the 30 to 50 mesh, which, see if I get close enough. You can already see stuff poking out. There's still going to be a good amount in there. And then, of course, we'll get into the minus 50s, which will be done on the cleanup sluice. Going to turn the camera back off and get back to you all with some more results. All right, people, things are starting to get exciting here. I got that next classification separated. In fact, I'll just flip the camera around here. There, I'm flipped around. There is the gold from the 30 to 50 mesh, still dry, and I tend to just let myself air dry. In fact, let me put this under the light over here to help that along. And then I've still kept track of all my tailings. So there's the tailings from the ProtoSluice. There is the tailings from my panning. And then there was the tailings from the Flower Gold Wizard cleanup sluice when I was checking the tailings from the ProtoSluice. So those are all my different tailings in case I have to go back and find another couple specks. And we are getting set up over here with the Flower Gold Wizard's cleanup sluice. I've kicked up the angle. I haven't measured it yet. But because I'm so heavy in black sands, I'm going to run it a little more aggressively this time. So I'm going to get a tripod set up over here, give you some music, and we can get through the end of this. All right, we are set up here with the Flower Gold Wizard's cleanup sluice. I'm going to get just a scoop or two on here real quick before I go radio silent, and then I'll overlay some music for y'all because I think music adds to it. I don't know about anybody else. I'm running at about 5 degrees. The percentage on the pump doesn't matter too much, but I think we're ready to go. Let's see. And that took all of a half a second for me to see gold. This is going to be a good pan, a good sluice full of gold by the time I'm done. However, it did make it down here already on that first scoop, so let's dial back. Dial back a little bit. There, that's better. Rule of thumb is you want it to take about 1 second per foot for your lighter material to come off. So let me get some blondes here. We can try to count together. 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000. The heavies take a little bit longer, but you want that. You're trying to catch that stuff. I may end up running this a second time. And you notice I don't know, you probably can't see it, but I do have a pan in my catch pan to make it easier to check. So I'm going to put some music on and let you guys enjoy the show.
Quick and mean, 40 up sluice, let that muddy water cut it loose from the black sand prison to a vial so bright, liberating gold in the pale moonlight. Flower and gold wizards, clean up sluice, every little flake gets its own excuse from pan to sluice. Yeah, we'll see it shine, bring that hidden color right up the line. From the creek in my mind to the tub out back, I'm chasing that shimmer in a basement shack. Just me and my sluice in a cold dank room, turn a pile of gravels to a golden blue. Oh yeah, four gold wizards, clean up sluice, let that muddy water cut it loose from the black sand prison to a vial so bright, liberating gold in the pale moonlight. Four gold wizards, clean up sluice, every little flake gets its own excuse from pan to sluice. Yeah, we'll see it shine, home is where that color runs down my line.
I'm going to cut the power off, and I'm going to, without shutting the camera off, hopefully, here we go. Look at all the shiny in there. Oop, come on, focus. There you go. I have the head shifted back a little bit so it leaves a little drop riffle almost right there, which I don't mind. It's just an extra safety spot to catch. A couple decent pieces in there. But all the way down, I was probably running it a bit hot, which I planned on intentionally. But I ran it twice. It's all the way to the bottom though, so I may very well have to run those tailings again, and I'll reduce the angle to the proper 3 degrees and slow it down if I do. But that is the most loaded that I have had this thing so far. So I'm going to get this cleaned out, which takes hardly a second. Just got to tip it upside down into something, put the pump on for a few seconds, and it all washes right out. But it is as advertised. Less cons, more gold. All right, I'm going to get this into a pan, get her pan back, and see what we got. All right, folks, before I start panning this back, I just wanted to show you. I got her cleaned out of the sluice into this pan, and I just was trying to get her all to one side there, but in the meantime, that's just what's sticking to the bottom as I'm trying to get it to one part of the pan. There's probably more gold than that in that pile. But, man, I get to show you guys a galaxy without having to run my finger through it or anything. This is going to be good. All right, I'm getting down to the nitty-gritty of it. I just thought I would pop on camera here for a second, show you kind of how I do things at this finishing step. I'm tilting my pan uphill towards the camera. Keep it in view, and I'm just gonna, I've seen Miller from Miller Prospecting do this. And as I tap uphill, most of my gold is coming to the bottom. I know this seems a little counterintuitive since we usually tap to the top. But from there, I just wash some of that black sand away, and I'm going to scoop up about, I don't know, 80% of what's in there with the snuffer. So I'll be back with the results. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a couple days actually since I shut the camera off last. It got really complicated with this, with the black sand. I'll get into that in a minute, but the important part is I've got some gold away. So I want to get right to these results because I'm already nervous because I put all my gold in this thing for this stupid test. But I'm going to try to remain optimistic and hopeful and see what we got. So scaled out, fresh tear, 0, 0.
And let's see what we got. This is all the gold out of the 30 to 50 mesh, which there wasn't as much as any other classification. That's what got me a little worried, was I thought I would see more in this, but there is a nice pile over there in the minus 50s. So we will see what they come up at all together. Try not to bump the camera here, I apologize. What do we got here? We got 0.26. 0.26 in the 30 to 50 mesh. 0.2. Okay, let's get that back over here. I'm going to put this back in this container. Ooh, careful. Not a good time to get butterfingers. Calm down, Todd. That is back in there. We'll set this back. Should land on 0 if everything's out of it. It does land on 0. I'm going to tear it out just to be accurate. And now the real moment of truth. I'm not even going to do the math to know what I should get from this, but let's find out together. A tiny bit of black sand in there, but I got impatient at the end because when I made my special recipe pay dirt here, I put in material from a container that I had previously pulled out with a magnet. So that liked to clump up. It made it so that it didn't run over the finish sluice right, and it made it so it was hard to pan. I'm going to do a video in the future to demonstrate why that is. But anyway, what does this say? 1.19. 1.19. Flicker in 1.9 to 2.0 or 0.20. 1.19. We'll just call it there. Basement's a little chilly. It's about probably 52 down here. Shouldn't be bad enough to make the scale fluctuate too much, but you never know. Give me an excuse to get a better scale. Okay, get that safely back over here. Oh, it's been nerve-wracking, I'll tell you what. Trying to get that last little bit out. Oh, and that should land on 0. And it does. All right. Shut that off and get that out of the way. Let's do a little math. Do a little mathy math the old school way. 10, 21, 12, 14, 15. What's that give me? 4.51. And I think I started with 4.55. So there is a little bit of loss, but not too bad. Oh, I forgot about this little container. That's what I had pulled out of the tailings from the run through of the ProtoSluice. Oh man. All right. We're gonna do this again and hope that it all comes out good. We're gonna put this small stuff back in there. This down here. Oh, there it goes. And we're going to add in a because my scale only goes a 100th spot. This didn't register before, but now if I add it in, it's going to make a difference of 0.02. That's weird. 0.02, add that, 4.53. Assuming my scale is being accurate, which I am skeptical of because I'm now seeing it jump around a bit. That would suggest that I still have a loss of 0.02 grams, which for the amount that I started with, I'm not going to complain at this point in time. I'm just glad that I found the vast bulk of it. And voila, just like that. 4.53 divided by 4.55 gives me 99.56%, which I think is not too bad. I'll even round it down to 99, which I know is too far, considering I had to add in what I had lost originally. But not a bad test. We're not going to call this super official because I couldn't do it all on camera perfectly, but that will come in the future. I'm just glad that I found it all. All right, folks, well, I got through it, and I'll tell you what, it was a nail biter. I turned this from a hobby into work doing it this way, and I'm not going to do it that way ever again. The steel BBs, stainless steel BBs, mind you, were a mistake. Putting all that lead in there made it more difficult, but, you know, that was easy enough to separate because it's big enough. But getting that minus 50s out of there, because I had magnetic material in there, and it all clumps up. And you'll notice it when you pan it on top of blonde sand, it'll rise up on top of the blonde sand. But if there's gold stuck in it, it'll go right with it. So I ended up having to back pan all of it teaspoon by teaspoon. I did use the Flower Gold Wizards cleanup sluice a few times, but it didn't like that material. You know, it basically ruins your classification. All of a sudden, everything is an 1/8 inch round, so it can just skate right over all the little sawtooth riffles. But yeah, we live, we learn. That's why I say I'm an amateur. And hopefully I didn't bore you all too much, but in the future we're going to do things a little bit different. It's going to be quicker videos. It's not going to be so in-depth. And it's certainly not going to involve me putting every last bit of gold I ever found into some pay dirt. But until next time, like, share, subscribe. Wisconsin Prospecting out.
Wisconsin prospecting, stop it in time.